Manchester United 3, Sheriff 0. 24 shots to Sheriff 0, 10 shots on target, 75% possession. Another dominant performance from Manchester United. It didn't feel particularly dominant or exciting or full of chances, full of goals the way we thought it would, or hoped that it would. But 3-0 and crucial goals for Ronaldo. And we'll get to Rashford in a minute because I'm actually a little bit happier about that goal than the Ronaldo one. But Ronaldo will take the headlines. He's had this goal drought. He was dropped by Ten Hag for walking off from the Tottenham game. It was almost destiny that he would score tonight, wasn't it? It felt so certain after the last 2 weeks that he's had that Ronaldo would get back on the score sheet.
Yeah, it did, to be fair. And do you know what it was? I feel like it felt like a typical Ronaldo game this season where it's just the ball's getting swung into him all the time. But it's like you'd rather play it into the area. You probably give him a bigger chance of scoring that way. Yeah. With a lot of forcing it to him. But then the one time where, you know what, the cross was actually on, Bruno does very well with the delivery, takes that extra touch to set himself, finds the perfect ball into him. And then when Ronaldo misses the header, you think it's not happening today, but obviously gets the rebound in. But yes, again, we spoke about it before the watch along, didn't we? When we said that the Ronaldo situation has been managed very, very well by Erik Ten Hag. I feel like Erik Ten Hag has walked into some difficult situations. We'll speak about Harry Maguire, who's come on today, and I thought he did pretty well, to be fair. Like, aggressive, one challenge he had to win. Not really any challenge, but when he had to come out and, you know, get on the ball and make the right pass, the right decisions, the basic stuff, but he did look comfortable. Obviously, he's had some time off with the injury and probably he said like earlier, it looked like he'd been on a holiday with his tan or whatever, but he's probably taking a break. But yeah, him coming out of the team for Varane, Ronaldo coming out of the team after the situation he has, it shows how Erik Ten Hag's management, in my opinion, has been good on and off the pitch, and that's what Man United need right now from their manager.
Well, let's talk about Ronaldo. Let's stick on that for a minute, because obviously he got the goal. He didn't really he had a couple of other chances, but it wasn't his best performance, was it? The first half especially was more of the same, of this sort of quite sort of frustrating. Maybe it's become a sort of a meme, or maybe it is happening, but it feels as though that often players will look for Ronaldo even when it's not necessarily on. I don't know if that's the pressure he puts on people, or whether it's just the gravity of Cristiano Ronaldo, or whether we as fans are almost looking for that when it's not there. I don't know. But it did seem like we might be heading down the road of another frustrating goalless performance for Ronaldo, didn't it, for large portions of that game?
Yeah, it did feel like that, but I feel like the thing is with Ronaldo, I said this on the show, I could see him move to a club and like go up a level for what he's done this season. It just feels like currently a lot is being made of, you know, with him it just feels like mentally he's off. And I think a lot of people make this thing where they say this thing where, you know, he's fallen off or he can't physically cope with the game anymore. I don't really think it's that case. I think we've seen Zlatan, and I know Zlatan's a freak as well, where, you know, he trains very hard and you look at his physique. But you see a lot of these other players that play well into their, you know, late 30s and 40s. And with the way Ronaldo's taking care of his body in the season that he had last season, I think he'd just fit in somewhere else a lot better. I think the Premier League, yes, it has physical demands, but even without that, I think the tactical aspect of the game is leveled up massively. So I think him even understanding when to drop, when to want the ball, when to pass it. When as a player, and rightly so, your ego is going to be so big, because when as a player, it's worked 800 times for you because he scored over 800 goals. Yeah. And then a manager turns around and goes, all right, there's this new way of playing that we need to do, that we need to press in a certain way, that you need to get in an area and do this, do that, when to get into the box, when to drop in and have a 1-2 and have more of a feel of the ball, which Ronaldo seems to have, rather than always being in a box and always being a threat. He's actually dropping deep sometimes where you don't want him. It's like, it's so hard to drill that into a player at that stage of the career after all the greatness that they've done in the game. But,
and interestingly, with Ronaldo, and again, obviously, he is maybe the best player of all time. There's no knock against what he's done. But he hasn't always played under the most kind of high-pressing, sort of modern style managers, as he Ferguson, which again was, you know, almost another era ago now. And then you look at, it was Jose, and who else was it? Zidane at Real Madrid. Then it was Allegri, then Sarri for a short period, but he just didn't get on with Sarri whatsoever,
Pirlo
did he?
Well.
Pirlo for a little bit, and then obviously back to Solskjaer, and now it's Ten Hag. And the expectation of his sort of following instructions and pressing hard and, this modern style of football is almost the highest it's ever been for Ronaldo, and it's coming when he's now 37 years old. It's tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think the other issue is where you fit at that stage of your career as a player. Like, how many 30-year-old strikers in the last few years in the Premier League have we seen? Like, I might miss some, but I can't remember of one that's consistently come in and scored or done the thing there. And that's why I don't want to take too much away from him, because I feel like he could go to Serie A and he could, have 3-4 years where he could still produce. He could probably even still do it at the international stage as well when Portugal get rid of Santos, because he's awful. But, when you look at Ronaldo now, it's just, does he get into this Man United team with what Ten Hag requires, especially if he continues to build? We've seen what Ten Hag's done with players. We've seen what he's done so far with the likes of, managing, for example, the Luke Shaw situation. Malacia had a great start. His intensity was brilliant. Winning the ball was brilliant. But then he found the right period of time to bring in Luke Shaw. Managed Casemiro very well. Brought him in slowly. And he started thinking some games are, I'm a bit unsure about Casemiro in the Premier League. And this is coming from, a massive Casemiro fan for years that I've been. But I start to think, I'm not sure about this guy. Then he brings him in at the right time, has the right performances, puts his authority in there, and he shows really what he's about, Casemiro. So his management of all these situations has been very well. But I think one situation that he's going to struggle with is this Ronaldo one. But so far what he's done has been okay. Can he handle that throughout the whole season is another question. Because, if you have maybe a string of 2-3 bad results where you're like, okay, we need to pick ourselves up again, does then you start seeing cracks in the changing rooms because of an influence of a player like that? I don't think Man United are in a position where they want that. I think Man United want things as smooth as possible and just continue to build and add to this team. Now, we've seen his header today. He's of that profile. I think he's of that profile, Rashford, where he's more of an inside forward, gets on to the ball and when it's hit into the spaces. But today's header is a lot better from him as a 9.
Let's talk about that Rashford goal, because for me, obviously, I'm happy Ronaldo scored. The more goals he can score this season, the better it is for Manchester United. I think that him getting that goal will be massive for his confidence and hopefully putting that whole Tottenham situation behind everyone. But Rashford going forward is more likely to be our number 9 starting week in, week out, isn't he? So really, he's the one that I want to be firing. He's, and we spoke about before the game, I think it was 5 or 6 games without a goal for Rashford. And in those games as well, he's had tons of chances. He had 3 or 4 against Tottenham. He had 4 or 5 against Ammonia the game before, the last game in the group stage, and not scored any goals. He had that incredible chance against Newcastle in the 95th minute, free header from 6 yards out that he put wide. I think Rashford getting this goal, he's our top scorer this season, was just as crucial, if not more so, than Ronaldo, because if they're both fit, it's Rashford that starts. Because he's the one that we need to be in top form, isn't it?
Those games you mentioned, Rashford did everything well other than score. Yeah. And I get why people, when that statement is said, I think, okay, but he's a striker. But I think the games, when you look at that Tottenham game, it sort of sums it up, because he made that game as difficult as possible for that Tottenham back line. He was physical with them and getting in behind the defence. A lot of the time when he received it with his back to goal, he'd pop it back into the midfield, then make the run. They couldn't really cope with him. And then he had those chances, when he sends the 2 defenders and hits it hard with his left foot. I think that's the only one where I go, okay, fair enough, but then should place the last chance that he had, the last easy chance, I should say, that he had. And the first one is usually his bread and butter, where it's on that inside right. Usually he goes across goal by taking that extra touch and setting himself properly. So he should have done better with those chances. But overall, in that game, he just did everything you wanted. I think he understood his role pressing-wise. He understood when to press who and how to do it. Off the ball, hitting the right spaces, making the right runs, opening the pitch for his teammates, creativity as well in that game. If Bruno makes that run just a tad earlier, that goal gets given where he would have assisted Bruno. It was a brilliant ball to him. But he nearly found McTominay, if you remember, as well. And yet, so it was an all-round performance. This Manchester United team needs someone, and this any top side, you need someone who's going to offer you more than just goals as a striker.
Yeah.
So if Ten Hag keeps working on being goals, now I'm not sat here saying I think Marcus Rashford should be Man United's number 9. I don't think so at all, because I don't think he's a number 9. I think Marcus Rashford wants to be on the inside left channel, and I think that's where he's been absolutely fantastic for Manchester United. Majority of his time at the club that's where he's making things happen, and especially with Luke Shaw playing down that left-hand side, they've got that relationship where we see Luke Shaw make them runs into the area where he finds him, and they've got that thing going. So you want a number 9 into this team, and hopefully with Martial coming back in, and then hopefully if somehow Man United can pull off signing a number 9 in January, then you'd see Rashford go into that role. But so far with what we got, Rashford starts ahead of Ronaldo, because that's what works better for the team, and it's about Man United right now.
Yeah, exactly.
As much as I'd love Ronaldo to do well, as much as I'd love to see him win trophies here, but it's about the team.
Yeah. Let's look forward a little bit then. So obviously, if we can get the current standings of the group up on the screen there. So you see Sociedad 15 points, United 12 points, Sheriff 3, Ammonia 0 points there. Sociedad's goal difference is currently 3 better than ours. They're on 9, ours is on 6. 1 game left. I think it's next week, isn't it? It's 1 week today. That Sheriff game. I keep saying Sheriff. Sociedad game.
Sociedad.
The decider. And let's do a little breakdown for anyone who doesn't know what permutations we need to happen, how these things are. Is it goal difference? Is it head-to-head? Whatever it is. So Manchester United lost the first game against Sociedad 1-0. And here are the sort of in descending order from most important to least important, how this will be decided should we finish on the same point. So obviously, if we go to Spain and win that game, we'll both be on 15 points. So the first thing that's taken into account is the points in head-to-head matches among tied teams. Now, obviously, if you draw one and win one, but you're on the same points because of other results, the team that won the game would go through. Obviously, in this case, we've won every other game. They've won every other game. So for us to even have any chance, we have to beat them. So immediately, it can't be on points, because if we don't beat them, we're not on the same points, and therefore they will go through. So then we're on to the second one. Then it's goal difference in head-to-head matches among tied teams. So obviously, if we win 2-0, that will put the goal difference 2-1 to United. We would go through. If we won 3-0, 3-1, whatever. Clear goal difference. Let's say it ends 2-1 Manchester United. The next thing is the goals scored in head-to-head matches. So if it ended 2-1 to Man United, we would have scored 2 goals in the tie. They would have also scored 2 goals in the tie. Then it goes on to away goals, right? Because the goals scored would be the same in the overall matches. Then it goes on to the away goals scored. In that instance, Man United would have scored 2 away goals to Sociedad's 1. So if we win 2-1 next week, we go through.
We go through regardless.
And if we go through with any scoreline where we get like 3-2, we go through, 2-1, anything going up that way. If we win 2-0, we go through. So
We
it's
just have to win by more than 1 goal, basically.
well, we have to win and score more than 1 goal.
And score more than 1 goal. Yeah.
So it's slightly tricky. But basically, we're down to the sort of 3rd or 4th hierarchy of what is used to separate the teams. Because obviously, points in head-to-head, it can't go down to that, because we either win and then it's on even points, or we don't and they go through on points. Goal difference is where it's going to come into play here. So it's basically, if United score 2 goals and win, we're through. 2 goals or more and win. So I know it's slightly complicated, but it's because obviously it's coming down to just us two, and we've won every other game. So a 2-1 win in Spain would see Man United through. Which, do you think that's doable? I know that we sat here going a 2-1 win, but we have been historically awful against Spanish teams, and so have every other British team.
We did batter them, though, to be fair.
We did.
A couple of years back even. And the thing is, I think we were unfortunate because there was quite a bit of rotation, wasn't there? We had like Elanga, Fred in that game against Sociedad. It's like as if Ten Hag expected, like, okay, these guys are going to do the job, and now our backs have been sort of against the wall. Not in the sense that we're not going to progress out the group, because obviously it's an easy group, but just wanting to finish first and making sure that, you know, we're getting that pass and getting that rest period as well. So
we've got the quote here from Rashford. He says, "We have to go to Real Sociedad and win by 2 goals. We will do what we always do: create chances and score goals and defend well." I know he said by 2 goals there. I don't know if he's mistaken or I'm mistaken, but we don't have to win by 2 goals. We have to score 2 goals and win. A 2-1 win for United would do it. because it says away goals scored in head-to-head matches among tied teams. Now, that is if the goal scored overall is even, and the goal difference is even, and the points are even, which they all would be at a 2-1. So I think... obviously, let's have it in our heads that we need to win by 2 goals.
Yeah.
But I think a 2-1 would put us through. I think a 3-2 would put us through as well, because it's more away goals scored for United than Sociedad did. But obviously, he knows, he's not going to be... If we're 2-1 up, the word will spread that that's enough. But yeah, there we go. Right, that's going to be all from us. A much-needed win for Manchester United, with a couple of much-needed goals as well. Cristiano Ronaldo back on the score sheet. Marcus Rashford back on the score sheet as well. Harry Maguire back in the squad. A good full debut for Garnacho, was it?
Yeah.
I thought a very good, promising performance. We didn't get a chance to touch on him much, but he was very exciting.
Yeah, really
dangerous
exciting.
player, driving
had to play wide today, but I think the way the game went today, he didn't have a lot of space to work with, but still looked exciting. I think I want to see him now in a Premier League game where it's a bit more open and he can exploit defences.
Yeah, it was excellent today, Garnacho. So the reason we didn't mention him because he wasn't good, he was very good. That's going to be all from us. Make sure you check out Abdul GH_ on Twitter. Thank you for coming on, mate.
Nice one, mate.
Thank you for watching at home. It all comes down to Sociedad next week. It's
Easy
going to be
3-0.
Easy 3-0.
Let's go.
A 2-1 win will do it for Manchester United. We'll see you in a bit.
See you in a bit.